You're going to have to forgive me tonight, folks. I'm getting a little sick, so I might have to mute myself to cough or sneeze or whatever the case may be. And I'm not sure if it's sick of, everything that's going on. There's colds going around Alberta like crazy. Everybody's getting sick. Or if it's just genuinely getting sick of covering and watching the Calgary Flames and maybe being allergic to watching the Calgary Flames play hockey, because that's kind of where I'm at. But we'll dive into it tonight. Welcome to Game Over Calgary. My name is Auddie James. On the heels of another Calgary Flames loss, I feel like you could plug and play the intro whenever I do it when we're running this show. That it's going to be covering a Calgary Flames loss. You could basically pencil it in if you see Auddie James is covering the Calgary Flames on Game Over, that it's going to be a loss. Joined today by my good pal. We got a good story. We'll get into it before we talk about the Wild and the Calgary Flames. But my good pal Zeke, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Good to chop it up with you. And how are things?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Yeah, like you just said, we kind of have a little bit of history a few years ago when your first YouTube channel and all that. I remember being in the comments a lot, chatting around, doing that. Also over on, I think the first time I saw you was over on Post to Post way back in like 2016 or
It's been a
something, which
minute,
is
man.
pretty crazy. I was probably like 15 back then, so uh, you know,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
pretty cool how obviously I've been doing this show now for I think maybe a year or two, if I remember right. So yeah, no, I'm it's doing great and happy to be on. Happy that you
Yeah,
invited me.
no, I'm
It's
I'm
great.
I'm happy to have you, man. It's gonna be good. One of us was happy tonight. The other one, not so much. But we'll dive into it here on the show as we progress. But yeah, like Zeke mentioned, one of he was in the reply or in the comment section with when I was doing videos with Neil and my pal AP, and now we're doing a show together, man. It's full circle. It's cool
It
how these
is.
things happen, man. I'm happy to have you. So it's gonna be a fun one for me tonight. Um, wasn't a fun one for the Calgary Flames, but we're gonna dive into that as we're on the heels now of a Calgary Flames loss in the shootout, 3-2 to the Minnesota Wild. A little bit of housekeeping before we get too far ahead of ourselves here on the show. Save your comments, questions. Well, you can comment. Just save your questions if you want to talk about it for the end. We are going to do our press conference, kind of like how Steve, Jesse, and Adam do it on the SDP. We'll save that for the end. We'll hit the presser and answer all your questions. It could be anything. It could be what the hell Thursday night football game happened tonight. That's craziness over
Mhm.
there in the Raiders and Chargers game. We can talk about this game, obviously, as there's a lot to dive into as we progress. Okay, leading into this game, the Calgary Flames obviously not playing fantastic. There's a lot of question marks up in the air here in Calgary and what they're going to do. And, I guess same could be said for Minnesota, although they did make a coaching change. Dean Evison gone, John Hines in, and they seem to be playing a lot better under John Hines, to say the least. Yeah, coming into it, we'll dive into it a little bit later on in the show, just kind of the implications for the wild card and all that stuff. But some pregame notes for the Calgary Flames. Vladar starting, obviously. I believe the last game, was Dustin Wolf against the Vegas Golden Knights. There, another shootout, which the
Mm.
Flames are just
It's
picking up
sort of-
loser points like Infinity
Yeah.
Stones. It seems right now. But Chris Tanev goes back to Calgary. He's going to be evaluated for an upper body injury. So outs one of the Flames' best pure defensemen, and Vladar, who, he's been okay so far. But I guess if we break it down and start in the first period here, that first goal by Boldy, which was a hell of a goal. I thought it was a nice goal.
Mhm.
He's a heck of a hockey player. Starts on the stick of Vladar. He turns it over. Backlund fails to clear it, and the Calgary Flames are all of a sudden trailing in this game. And this has been a tale as old as time. I don't know if it was a combination of the Minnesota Wild relentless fort check, or just the Flames and how bad they are to get the puck out of their own zone. But maybe take me through that one from your end and from a Minnesota perspective.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of funny hearing a lot of things that you're saying right now about the Flames. It's kind of almost been like that for most of the year for the Wild. Aside up until maybe a week ago, it was the trailing early. Know all too well how that feels. But yeah, no, obviously, I mean, Boldy's been great ever since the coaching change. I think that's 7 goals in 6 games now. So he's always
Gross.
been kind of one of the more streaky guys, including last year. But yeah, just he's a great wrist shot, like you said, and just kind of took over took advantage of a broken play and kind of walked down there, kind of maybe at the circle at the dot and just obviously ripped it high glove side there. So, he's been very good, been a real boost to the Wild specifically with because they've been dealing with some injuries, a couple guys maybe not producing as much as you would like, but yeah, it was a great goal and you know. Obviously, to get that lead early on is always good, especially. But so like I said, we're not really used to that here in Minnesota this year. But happy obviously to get that one on the board there and it seemed like after that the rest of the first period it was kind of even but because I don't think after that much really happened in that period aside from the goal. So,
No, you're not wrong, and the same can be said for the Calgary Flames. That's one of the notes I put was just a bit of a
mhm.
lackluster period in general.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy. It's like that meme that goes around about having a mid off. It seemed
Oh
like it
yes.
was it was a bit of a mid off between the Calgary Flames and the Minnesota Wild to start this game, even into the second. Like honestly, until the physicality
Penalties.
and the craziness that happened at the end of that period kind of
Hmm.
sparked, there was really not a whole lot going on in this one. Um, and the Flames didn't really seem to try to shift things into their own fortunes until the third period, which, obviously goes back to the amount of times I've said on this show that the Calgary Flames, the age-old hockey cliche of starting on time, and the Calgary Flames just, reluctant to do so, or if they do, they let their foot off the gas. So it's it's a tale as old as time here in Calgary, but yeah, it was lackluster. It was the Flames, and I'd like to get your perspective on it too. I don't obviously when I have guests from out of town, it's not many people on a good day follow the Calgary Flames, let alone if you're in another NHL market like Minnesota. So I wanted to get your 2 cents on kind of the Flames' first period and how you thought they looked in their own end specifically, because from what I could see, it was turnover city. Like they couldn't, and that's kind of been their mo, their
Hmm.
kryptonite, if you will, has been turnovers and failing to clear. Like the Wild, honestly, as much of a mid period as it was there in the first,
Hmm.
they dictated the pace of play. They were forcing turnovers in their offensive zone. Uh, the Wild looked good in transition. They broke out well. But what did you think about the Flames? It was a bit of a rough one in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. I mean, obviously, I think the most important thing was you're only down by one there at the end of the period. So it's not, especially on the road, it's not too huge of a deal since you got 2/3 of the game left there still. But yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, just wasn't, Wild did seem to have a lot of the possession of the puck and were skating really well. And that's kind of been, the last couple of years when they have done that instead of trying to force the whole grit first thing and trying to play physical as, we'll see in the second period here in a little bit when that kind of flipped the game a little bit. They didn't really fall into that trap early on. And, like I said, I don't necessarily know too much about the Flames, but I mean, obviously everyone knows the few of the players you guys have lost there over the last couple of years. So I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, I don't watch every day. I mean, I'll watch most teams every once in a while on ESPN Plus there and try to catch games, but it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of high end skill outside of a couple guys that really can kind of break the game open. Sharon Govich was good tonight. I mean, the guy could have had a hat trick probably. It was close in overtime, but yeah, it just didn't seem like they were able to really keep up and like you said, without power play opportunities, it wasn't too pretty. But you were only down by one, so that's what we call a good road period.
Yeah.
Minnesota a lot. So
Yeah. No, and the Flames, it's funny the similarities between the two teams. It's if you go back to last year, it was like the Flames and the Jets were like the two teams that were and obviously it came down to the wire there for the last wild card spot for Winnipeg and Calgary. But I'm seeing a lot of similarities with the Wild and the Flames in that regard. Although they did look better and they end up with 2 points tonight instead of just the one for Calgary. But to your point about losing players and losing scoring, that's kind of one of the storylines that I've been following for most of the year too. Covering this team and talking about them on a nightly basis, is the fact that they did lose their top scorer in Toffoli. We know how that trade went down. The team wasn't going to go in a direction where they wanted to give him a long-term deal, and they inevitably trade him to the Devils for Sharangovich and a pick. And it took Yegor Sharangovich a bit of a stretch of time there to kind of get his feet wet with the Flames and kind of cement himself as the player that he is now. But like you mentioned, like he was all over tonight. And it's funny that, we were all nervous here in Calgary about where the goal is going to come from. Now that Toffoli's gone, Sharangovich, up and down player, like a roller coaster, like the weather. And this guy's leading the team in goals now with, I think, 11. So it's which in the grand scheme of things really isn't like a lot when you look at the rest of the league. Like a lot of guys are pushing 20, like what has Matthews got, like 26 now, or something stupid. Crazy. He's so good. We look around the league and a lot of teams don't have guys that have 11 goals as their top scorer, and that's just kind of the predicament that Calgary's in, continuing along the narrative of where the goal is going to come from. And that's been something in Calgary that they've struggled with for a long time. But like you mentioned, bit of a lackluster first period. Things kind of spark a little bit in the second. The Flames came out buzzing in that second period, and that's kind of what I wanted to see from them in the first. Was lots of ozone time, which they were able to sustain for a little bit there at the start of the second period. Lots of shots on goal, just peppering Gustafsson with pucks, which is nice. But then the Flames get a power play. They choke on it in the first one, and that's kind of been a struggle all year for someone who maybe hasn't watched the Flames as much as I have. That's been a storyline here in Calgary and a struggle.
Yeah, I know how that feels. So
I was gonna say the similarities, man. It's like big brother, little brother, right? Yeah. Yeah, and then they get that power play. Nothing really comes of it. And then that power play goal that Sharangovich ends up scoring. They finally bury one. I think last show we were talking, we went back and did a little exercise on the last show that I did against the Golden Knights, where we went back and looked at the last like 10 Flames games, and I think they scored like 3 power play goals on something like 30 tries, and that's just abysmal, just not good. But they break it there.
It can't be as bad as Pittsburgh was there for a bit. So
that was rough.
Not that 0 for 37 is the bar you should be trying to pass, but
right. Like you shouldn't. The bar is down here. Here's the Penguins, and the Flames were just slightly above. Just ever so slightly. You could slide a piece of paper and maybe fit it between the Penguins bar and the Flames bar, and that's. But it was nice to see. Let's talk about the little physicality at the end of the second period. Patty Maroon, I wanted to get your take on that hit. I know a lot of Flames people were not thrilled about it. Maybe it dates back to his time as an Oiler and just kind of being that pest that he was. But late hit, like I think that was late. It's not obviously not suspendable or anything like that, but not
a penalty.
Yeah, it was a pretty clear cut penalty.
I mean, you went after him, 5 seconds after the puck is gone, and I don't know if it was him or Foligno who was. I don't remember who they were angry at. They were chirping at, but it seemed like they were, had wanted to go at it probably the whole period there. So. And it finally boiled over at the end there. But I mean, that's what Maroon is at this point, especially. He's just kind of the muscle. He's out there to, kick the crap out of guys. If he goes on the box, gets thrown off the ice for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, I don't think they care too much. But it was a penalty. And, as I always like to joke about the refs, my thing I like to yell at games when I'm there is just like to yell, "Do your job." because it just drives you bonkers when, there's one time a cross check is a penalty, one time it's not 2 minutes later. So, yeah, it was a penalty. And, I don't remember too much if they, I don't remember if they got close on that call specifically, but yeah, no, it was definitely a penalty. Definitely got more chippy, and I think the other thing in that second period is I don't remember which one of the uh, I don't remember who was tapping it in, but that review they had on the potential goal for Calgary there that kind of looked like it might have been,
Yeah.
underneath Gus's shoulder. I mean, and obviously that probably was made because you can't see, but on second look, it kind of almost looked awful lot like it was maybe under his far shoulder and potentially in the net. So a little bit of good job, good sell job there by Gus to back out of the net before the referee could even get over there. But I was a little surprised they didn't potentially call that one back the other way because it seemed like you could maybe deduce that it was in the net, but
Buddy, we're Calgary Flames people. It was in was
yeah, it looked like.
was one of those is one of those things that the Flames. You go back to '04, the Jelena goal. You go back to the playoffs against the Oilers where Coleman allegedly kicked the puck in.
Yeah,
The misfortunes with this team, and it should have been a goal, is just it dates back, and that's just the nature of being a Calgary Flames fan. But yeah, the physicality kind of increases in this second, and I'm getting excited. I'm like, damn, maybe we're in for a
Mhm.
good third period. And it wasn't really anything special either. Like these two teams legit all night were just saying, let's just have a mid off and see
Yep.
which middle of the pack team can out mid the other one. And obviously the Flames get a really good shorthanded shift there from
Yeah.
Sharon Govich and Coleman. Coleman ends up with the goal, threw it off the defender's skate and went in. But that was just a really good forechecking shift on the penalty kill. And the Flames, they get a power play goal tonight. They get a penalty kill goal tonight. Holy shit, man. We're looking at a special teams game from a team who's just notorious for being piss poor
Mhm.
on special teams. So that was good to see from a Flames perspective. But then later
Yeah.
on in the period, as the penalty to the Flames expires, Vladar just gives up the juiciest of rebounds directly onto the tape of Marco Rossi, and he wastes no
Mhm.
time. We got a tie game. What did you think of that third?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you said with the shorthand goal, obviously that's maybe it's just the kind of a fan thing, but watching the Wild, I always wonder why does it seem like every other power play in the league is better than ours? So I kind of have an opposite reaction. But yeah, I think, on that on the shoot on the shorthand goal there, I mean, that's how you have to play the Wild on the power play and be more aggressive because they don't particularly move the puck particularly fast. They don't, especially that top unit, a lot of those, the Zuccarellos, the Kaprizovs, they're skilled, but they always seem to do a little bit of the overpassing game and trying. So if you can, move your feet a little bit and pressure them, you'll get choked by a couple chances like they did in that play. And just, like you said, get it on net, good things will happen a lot of times. It's pretty typical hockey goal. Like always like to joke, something going after someone's butt, someone's skate randomly. That's how you got to win. So,
You don't. They
but
don't ask how. They ask how many.
no, they
Right.
ask you in. Trust me, that
That's
was,
it.
yeah. So, good. That was, I mean, obviously, I didn't like it, but, everyone else, most people listen to this show probably did. But, and then,
Ain't that the
you know, I,
truth?
yeah, I know. Then after that, obviously, it was big to tie that game soon after and not let, because at that point you kind of figure it was, here we go again, kind of funky bounce, shorthanded, like, how are you gonna come back from that? And, like you said, for a guy like Marco Rossi, especially who's been, really good in his first full year in the NHL. I think that was his 10th goal of the season now. He's not really been missing, a lot of chances this year like he had in years past, and it was a good, obviously very good response for the Wild specifically. And then, after that, it seemed kind of even, like they were kind of trading. It was trading punches a little bit, not too much. I think, like we talked about Sharon Govich, he got a nice kind of 3-on-2 feed, hit the post, about 5-6 minutes left, and they kind of traded chances back and forth there. And then, but you guys did get the big penalty kill there with the last 4 minutes. I think Vladar, he made a few good saves, especially in the last little bit of the third period, and I think had an actually pretty decent game. I think both goalies were, maybe one or two mistakes were both pretty solid, and uh, but yeah, no, I thought overall I thought it was pretty entertaining third period. I mean, a lot of like I said, back and forth. It's good skating going on, and it was probably right that like said with the whole mid-off thing, both teams kind of pretty even. It was probably fitting that the game did go to overtime in the end. So
Yeah, it goes to OT, and nothing really clamorous comes from that.
well, it's
Yeah,
the
it's
overtime. I mean, when it's at its best, like in Toronto tonight, it can be fun. But when you get to the, attack, got no lane to go, pass it back to the goalie, change, it gets that can get a little bit, like, come on, let's somebody go here. But,
do you remember
it,
how fun 3-on-3 used to be when it was first
you know,
introduced?
first year, yeah, and then they figured out how to not lose instead of trying to win, and now, you're just
It
never gonna, it's just not gonna. It's not gonna happen to me. You would think it would be better with all the skill nowadays, especially that, guys trying the, fancy moves, toe dragging, making great passes, but it just, yeah, hey, I guess at that point, some of them would rather get into the shootout, and
it
think they have
feels
a
like
better
that's
chance
what they're
there. But
playing for now. Like there's
mhm,
no, it feels like nobody's really trying to end it
yeah,
in overtime.
yeah, because if you miss, if you do attack and you get a chance, then like we see like in Toronto tonight, anybody who's watching that game, you'll get that old fashioned 2015, 2-on-1, 2-on-1, breakaway. So obviously they're worried about that, but I mean, the point is to win the game. I mean, you're not going for the pity point, as we say.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I suppose at this point you would, you you take a point to either of these teams, but yeah, you also you need to win. I guess I don't know why I say that.
Yeah. No, it used to be so fun. I remember when they first introduced the 3-on-3. I was at a Flames preseason game against the Canucks, and the Flames won.
Hmm.
And then they were like, "Stick around. We're gonna showcase this new 3-on-3 thing that the NHL wants to do." The game was over, and they're like, "We're just gonna do it because they
Oh
want
yeah,
to. They want
yeah.
to trial it." And it was back and forth, and that was when Gaudreau was on the team, and there was speed going both ways, and he'd fuck up
Hmm.
down here, and they'd go the other way, and it would be a two, like you said. And that used to be just so fun to watch. And now I just miss 4
Yeah.
on 4. The Flames played a game. I can't remember who they. It was a couple weeks ago. The game went to overtime. The Flames ended up winning, but they
Hmm.
played the entirety of the period except for like 5 seconds 4-on-4 because there was a penalty that dragged into overtime,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there was no whistle. And it was just
No.
back and forth, 4-on-4. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so fun to watch! Just bring it back, bring it back!" Like I don't want to see this thing end in a skills competition. But then we go to the shootout. We go back and forth here, and
Mhm.
the Matt Zuccarello double tap or no double tap. It was it had a lot of
Yeah,
people
it's
fooled. They were
close,
talking on
but
the Flames home broadcast. They were convinced this one was coming back. Um,
mm,
I don't know. I mean, obviously, some people who are much more qualified than you or I apparently made this decision that
apparently.
it was good. Um, and this game ends in the shootout. The Calgary Flames lose, and that kind of segues into our next couple of points. As
Hmm.
we recap this game, it took me a lot longer than I thought it was, but we had some good back and forth there, good dialogue.
Yeah.
Um, but it has to do with the wild card race and the Flames. People are like, "Oh, the Flames are right here. They're right in the hunt for the wild card." And I'm looking at these standings now. Um, the Flames would pick up 1 point tonight. The Wild will pick up 2 points tonight, and I believe that will tie them in points.
You
Uh,
guys still up by one.
are we still up by one here?
Yeah, you got
Okay.
27 now. Hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We'll be at
Yeah.
the Flames will be at 27 and the Wild will be at 26. Math is hard, apparently.
Yes, I
But
know that helps.
that doesn't change the fact that the Wild still have 3 games in hand to the Calgary Flames. The Flames, what I'm trying to get at, is not doing themselves any favor if they're trying to get back into that wild card hunt here, especially the Oilers' resurgence, which
Yeah,
I want
holy
to get
cows.
your prediction. I know this is a Calgary-based show, but everybody loves to get their get up in arms about the Edmonton Oilers here. What do you think? First of all, it's tight. You look at Nashville; they're at 32.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's a tough hill to climb for the Flames. 5 points. It's still early.
Mhm.
Lots of things can happen.
Oh yeah.
You know, uh, barring a ridiculous, second half from the Flames when it eventually comes up here. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is the Preds at 32 and the Yotes at 28 currently hold the 2 wildcard spots. Then it goes Edmonton just on the outside looking in with 2 games in hand. Excuse me, with 27. The Blues have 29, but they have played more games than Edmonton. The Flames will now have 27. The Kraken have 25. The Wild have 26. Like, it is going to be, for the next little while here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams fighting for 2 spots in the wild card. I want to
Yes.
know right now what you think is going to happen here with these 2 wild card spots. We're going to get the way too early predictions from you so that we can
So
come
we'll
back
do it.
and freezing cold take you.
April.
we'll get
In April.
producer Rob to clip this so that everybody can. I'm just
Go
kidding.
crap on.
That's right. That's right. What do you
Oh, yeah.
what do you think though? Who do you think ends up in those 2 spots?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's almost, we're talking about this game as, kind of a mid-off. I mean, that whole wild card race is pretty much the same thing. I mean, everyone, like you said, is aside from, St. Louis and Nashville, who are in there right now, are all up 29 games. So they've played a little bit more. Arizona's obviously been a surprise. It's helped that Connor Ingram's been really good in goal.
Yes.
If you have a really good goalie, that can cover up maybe not having as much on the other end. But I mean, yeah, I think Edmonton probably, if I think I just saw that they were down 5-3 after going charging up 3 consecutive goals. So, if they, it all depends on goaltending pretty much there. But at the same time, they have Connor McDavid, all those guys. So it's hard to, it's always hard even when they were 5-12 to say that, they stink. It's like, well, that's probably not going to stay. So I'll say Edmonton, and then after that, I'm not gonna pick the Wild because I won't be that guy, on the stream. I won't be the homer, and don't know how confident I am in them either, despite the win tonight. So I guess, yeah, the problem is, I guess we'll go Nashville because they have Sorrow. So even though,
Yeah, he could keep him in, man. You can ride on hot goaltending.
yeah,
Um,
we'll go with Nashville and Edmonton just for that. So.
my flaming hot take for the playoff picture is that some way, somehow, the Oilers are going to squeak their way into the top 3 in the Pacific.
Yeah, I mean,
And that
not
is
too
that
far,
is
but-
that is clip worthy to flame me at the end of the year, because the guy covering the Flames thinks the Oilers are going to march their way back into the Pacific Division top 3 here. So I don't know. That's my flaming hot take. I think that, I don't know, one of I actually don't think it's going to be LA. I think if anything, it would be the Canucks who maybe fall off.
Mhm. Fall back a little bit.
Especially because the Kings are, I think, 2 points back with 3 games in hand. That's just a damn good team right now.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's going to do it, I think it would be the Canucks. Sorry, Canucks fans. But my optimistic, or my flaming hot take. Some people in the chat are saying, Jer's saying, I don't even know if that's a hot take. Some people, I thought it was a hot take. Everybody's, I will welcome the love on that take. I will take all of that right now. If people thought that, yeah, see, there we go. Now this, now user Curtis Joseph is saying top 3 with all the question marks. So we'll see. Maybe it was kind of a warm take, not a flaming hot.
I mean, hey, they were 15 back or something a week or 2 ago, so it's pretty good.
And then McDude was just like, nah, watch this.
It's done. Yeah, 20 points in 4 games.
Yeah, he's like, I'll do my thing.
Myself.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things also that I wanted to talk to you about, I'm a big jersey guy. I know you like jerseys. How gorgeous was the jersey matchup tonight? This was like a top. This was like probably like no shit for me, like a top 5 jersey matchup. I love Minnesota's home jersey with every ounce of my being.
Yeah, no, it's I think that, they're a little bit maybe not divisive here, but some people are so on them. They're definitely a lot better than they used to have the Christmas jerseys with the all red and the green. So people still will make jokes about that every once in a while. But yeah, no, I mean obviously I like them. I think the Flames all their kind of colors is pretty classic. I think the newer ones they've gone over to. I don't remember what they changed about the logo. Is it it's the kind of the white instead
Yeah,
of the
this
black on the home ones, and then the can't
that's
remember
right.
for sure. But,
Yeah, they basically took the blackout. They went back to like their 80s
which
look.
are awesome. So
Something about red, orange, or red, yellow, and white. That
mhm.
combination just
And
gets me going.
oh yeah, and
And
the alternate is very cool too. It's almost like the little bit like the Vancouver one with the black and red and yellow kind of. It's just really good combo.
Canucks fans give Flames fans the most shit for like, oh, you guys want to be the Canucks so bad, and it's like, you guys have like 7 or 8 different jerseys in your rotation.
Every year, yeah.
Like
It's
every
true.
single year, you're coming out with a new one, and you have the gall to say that the Flames are trying so hard to be the
Thanks so
Canucks.
hard.
I don't think that's the case for the Jersey game whatsoever. But
Mhm.
yeah, Blasty, it's hard to
Oh
go
yeah.
against the Horsehead man. Um, last thing before we hit the press conference here that I wanted to talk to you about and get your take on
Mhm.
because I know it's driving Flames fans and Flames Twitter crazy because I think at this point we have a large enough sample size to make a pretty solid case as to what Jonathan Huberdeau is going to be for the duration of this 8-year, $10.5 million contract that he's signed. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That's all I
that's
needed to
holy
hear.
cow.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, he was invisible tonight. I mean, he's been invisible. I think he's got
Mhm.
3 points in his last 11 games. Um, he as of after the Vegas Golden Knights game, he was on pace for 42 points. Obviously, the longer he goes without a point, the lower that number is going to become.
Mhm.
Um, like? Give me your thoughts on this guy. I'm sure that you have something brewing up in there because everybody seems to be on this guy. It's been a tough season and a half for him. Everybody was holding out hope, but it seems as though that hope is diminishing by the day. For Jonathan Huberdeau, I made this missing sign,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I don't know, a month ago, and it was like, oh, where's Kadri?
Good.
He's been okay. Where's the blue
Okay.
line? They're kind of finding their way again, even without Zadorov. But the one constant on this list is we still haven't found Jonathan Huberdeau. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, we talked about, or I mentioned earlier with, obviously the Gaudreaus and Kachucks of the world leaving and, made those couple of moves to get him and Uyghur and all that. I mean, generally on the outside, people thought, okay, Huberdeau, 115, pretty much a consistent 90, 100 point guy in Florida. And, he wasn't like, I mean, I think he's over 30 now. So I guess he is getting a little old, but, you wouldn't think somebody at 28 or 29 would just kind of forget what they did good for 10 years before that. And like I said, I don't watch necessarily a ton of other teams, but I've reading stuff on Twitter and reading articles. I mean, I don't know if it's a fit issue like with systems or is he just not, because I remember listening to the on the STP when with all those guys they were talking about some people, I don't know. I remember hearing some discussion about whether the coaches were using him right or all this. I don't know if any of that was true, but I mean, man, to go from he had that great year in Florida, 115 points was you think the Art Ross winner this year to half that I think last year is it just that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, like I said, he was great in Florida, and maybe it's a simple thing as a fit. Maybe he just isn't all that great. I think he was with Barkov and those guys, so maybe he just gelled better. And I know he's always been the playmaker. So, maybe he needs, maybe it's an issue too, like we talked about with Flames, maybe the lack of necessarily high end talent and finishers. Maybe he needs specific guys around him to be successful, but obviously, when you're getting paid $10.5 million, you need to produce, regardless, at least at maybe, if you're putting up 60, 70 points a year, it's, still
It's
not
more
great, but at least,
palatable at that
yeah,
point.
than 40. So, yeah, I don't, yeah, it's not good. I mean, I don't know. Could they even entertain buying him out? I know that's a lot of money, but
I
you know,
think I can't remember. Let's actually
is it,
quickly
is
have
it,
a look at that and see what that would look like here on Cap
is,
Friendly, because a lot of people suggest, oh well, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, send him down or this and that. He's got a full no move. He's
yeah,
he's not going anywhere,
he's not.
man. He's not going anywhere, and you can't trade that contract. All right,
No.
this is what the buyout would look like. It would go till 2038.
Oof.
The cap hit next year and the year after would be 7.9, so they save just over 2.5. Then it would be 10.4, 10.4, which they saved 95,000 on. Then it goes back to 7.9, then 10.4. Your bottom line is you would be paying until 2031. You would be paying
Gotta not
a
play thing.
ridiculous amount of money for this guy to not be playing on your team, and your savings would be very, very minimal in three of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and then it goes down to 904,000, just shy of $1 million from 2031 all the way to 2038. So it's and a lot of that has to do with the signing bonus.
Hmm.
So
Well, we know a thing or two about that with buyouts here in Minnesota. So, and let me
yeah,
tell you, it is not fun. But I guess you could maybe make the rationale it's better to put somebody who's 22 and getting paid $800,000 in his spot. But you know, I mean, I guess there's just you're just stuck in no man's land there. You don't really have a good
yeah,
option either way.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, it's
I don't know.
bio proof. He's immovable at this point. You're probably better off just paying him 10.5 for maybe 50
Mhm.
points. You get 50 points out of a guy. It's a lot of freaking money, but
Mhm.
at least you're getting something. And yeah, it's pretty much bio-proof, as they like to
Yeah.
say. Okay, let's hit the press conference. Let's get some questions in. I've seen a few get in so far. Get them in now as we put a bow on today's episode of Game Over Calgary on the heels of a Calgary Flames loss 3-2 at the hands of the Minnesota Wild in the shootout at Minnesota at Xcel Energy Center. Am I getting that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Hell yeah. Okay. I always have a hard time because some places change names so frequently.
Oh, every two
Um,
years, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. This one from Conrad says, "What's your favorite Easton stick?" I'm guessing it's not a Chargers quarterback. Mine was the Zed bubble. My favorite Easton stick, and I think a lot of people my age grew up with one and played
Hmm.
with one. I think I had an orange one. There was an orange, a yellow, and a green, but the Easton Synergy. They brought that back. They actually remanufactured it as an actual composite stick. It was a full on wood stick when I used it, and that thing was the wood sticks were like compared to the sticks that they use now were so much heavier. That
Oh,
was actually the last stick I used before I moved to a composite stick. When I was, I think, like 11 or 12 years old. But yeah, Easton Synergy was my favorite stick, and that's a very fun dig at the Chargers, who were getting thumped, I think 63-7 the last I saw.
holy crap.
Yeah, it was 49-0.
Three,
It was 49-0
six,
at one point.
Jesus, I mean, that's 60 more points than the 63 more points than that last week against friggin' Vikings, which is
Yeah,
insane. I
that's
mean, holy
insanity.
cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have
Wow.
a favorite Easton stick or a favorite hockey stick growing up?
Uh, I'll be honest, I did not, never really paid too much attention to the
That's fair.
gear. It was, I mean, obviously with everyone, it's just whatever your parents can afford, use it. And, because everyone knows how much even just
So
a old
expensive.
crappy stick is probably 200-300 bucks sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, nothing too much in the equipment, as long as it's intact,
As
we're
long
good to
as it
go.
was the right hand and you could shoot the puck.
Yeah, that's all we need.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, keeping along here on the presser. This one from Frederick. Is Brock Faber among the most impressive ever defensive rookies in the NHL? I'll let you handle that one because I haven't watched a whole lot of Brock Faber, but I've heard his name a lot,
Mhm.
and people seem to like this kid.
Yeah, no, it's he's I could be a little biased here, obviously being a Wild fan and being that he's from Minnesota, played at the U here, was from the same city as me, actually went to high school around the same time that he did. So I kind of
That's
remember
cool.
hearing about him all this way up back to when he was probably 14 or 15, hearing about him. But yeah, no, he's obviously been, really, really good. And I mean, he's not the typical flashy, like someone in the chat here mentioned, about Cale Makar is obviously probably the best ever. I mean, the way he stepped into the playoffs. But he's not only is that Makar's obviously a great defender, but he's a
Hmm.
great skater, elite offensive talent. So obviously not in the same realm, but like Frederick said, defensively probably he's got to be up there. I mean, I don't have the stat, right in front of me, but I think Dom Lucian had a piece in the Athletic the day yesterday saying, I can't remember exactly what it said, but that he was among, at this point, on pace to be one of the top five, defensive seasons for rookies all time, I think, in the analytics era, which is, obviously great. And,
It's damn good.
doesn't, yeah. And I mean, he's not maybe necessarily an elite offensive player, but he's great at getting the puck up and out of the zone, which, is obviously very important. The Wild have struggled with that at times this year. So he's just a great puck mover, a great skater, and is just an overall great player and has really been a godsend for the Wild this year with the injuries they've been dealing with Spurgeon and Brodin and those guys. So yeah, no, he's probably not the best, but he's definitely up there in recent memory of guys that you can remember who were able to just right away in their career play 25-30 minutes a night. So
We're gonna put you on the spot again because this one's specifically for you. Called you out
yes,
by name from
yep,
Nate.
yep.
Nate says, double question for Zeke. What has happily surprised you the most about the Wild this season?
Oh boy.
And what has your favorite storyline been for the Wild this season? I feel like that could be maybe answered in the same. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, well, I mean, what has been happily surprised me, I think, like we just talked about, like the person just asked about with Brock Faber has probably been, one of the biggest surprises, although, we kind of already knew he's good being playing just down the street here in Minneapolis at the U. But probably him and Marco Rossi, who obviously everyone knows was dealing with the myocarditis and all that
Mm-hmm.
from COVID that really affected him. And, last year, obviously missing a year for a young player like that, like a lot of guys did from COVID and not be able to play can obviously affect their development a little bit. And the fact that he's been able to, step in this year in a full-time role and and the fact too that the team has given him that chance because we've had some complaints here among fans that they're taking the earn it kind of approach with some of the younger guys to a little too far. But yeah, no, I think probably him and Rossi have been easily the two the best storylines on the team this year, and they've been at times been the reason they've kind of stayed afloat while a lot of the veterans on the team kind of struggled a bit.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good. It's nice when you
Mm-hmm.
have and to the youth injection thing. Again, similarities to Calgary for the longest time. Just
Yeah.
not wanting to play the youth. I know that was a big Daryl Sutter thing, but since Ryan Huska came in, he's we see Martin Pospisil, we see Connor Zary before he got hurt, Peltier, Dustin Wolf. We're seeing a lot of youth injection, which is nice. We'll leave it at this. The last one is not a question; it's a statement. Drinking game. Drink every time
Jeez.
Hubie turns over the puck. You'll be in the hospital by the end of the first period, but at least you won't have to watch anymore. And that's the temperature of the fan base here in Calgary. Hey, Zeke, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I had a lot of fun chopping it up with you. Finally, it was good to actually have a conversation with you
Yeah.
outside of the YouTube comment section.
Mhm.
Um, Tell everybody where they can find you, all about your show, Sound the Foghorn, and all that wonderful stuff that you guys are working on. The floor is yours to plug away.
Yeah, no, just for any, Wild fans or anybody in there who would, care to ever listen to this, it's called Sound the Foghorn, like you just said, if you want to go to my Twitter bio, which is at Zeke Boyat or X or whatever the
Yeah,
heck it's
whatever it's
called
called this week.
nowadays. Who knows? We'll just keep calling it Twitter, but if you
Yeah.
go to just Zeke Boyat there, at Sound the Foghorn is right in the bio, or you can just look it up pretty much anywhere. You'll find it just like, every other show. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts and we try to do two a month at least now, so we'll probably have a new one here maybe in the week before Christmas for anyone who would be interested. So if you want to check that out, definitely be sure to. And yeah, no, Auddie, it was thanks so much for having me on. This was a great time, chatting the game and getting to be on here. Really appreciate the invite.
Of course, buddy. We'll have to do it again sometime when
Hmm.
the Flames and Wild meet up sometime down the road. As for Game Over Calgary, your next show will be on Saturday, as the Calgary Flames welcome in. Yeah, it's a home game. Welcome in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Peter Klein will have your show at the end conclusion of that game. But yeah, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're listening back on playback, be sure to rate the podcast on whichever podcatcher you are consuming this content on. And keep in mind, folks, we're getting close to 100,000 subscribers here at SDPN. Be sure to hit the subscribe. Play buttons are cool. We want to see that hanging up at HQ in Toronto. I'm sure that the SDP, once we hit 100,000, is going to be a lot of fun. So let's be sure that you subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I'm sure you are. Lots of great shows here on the network. Okay, friends, that's it for us tonight. Calgary Flames lose 3-2 at the hands of the Minnesota Wild. This has been Game Over Calgary on behalf of myself, Auddie James, and my good friend who we finally had on the show and finally got to chop it up with, Zeke. Have a great night. Take care. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on the next stream. Adios.
Get